Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And yes, tonight I'm taking a break from doing a live stream. I've been doing them nightly for about 3 weeks straight. And I said to Marlena, I want to sleep in a bit this morning. So I have. I had an extra hour's sleep, guys. I had an extra hour's sleep. Now, let's get back to the situation at hand on the ground in South Africa. Yesterday I put out a video where the Ministerial Advisory Committee into the coronavirus, which includes very, very experienced medical professionals, came out and they said that this government is not following their recommendations on the lockdown. Well, the government have hit back. Yeah, they don't like it when someone questions how they're handling this complete, ridiculous lockdown. The Department of Health has moved quickly to crack down on dissent among the ranks of expert scientific advisors who criticize the COVID-19 lockdown over the last 48 hours. Experts advising government who have voiced criticism over the implementation of certain lockdown regulations and the phased easing approach faced a hard-nosed dressing down from health officials during a heated Ministerial Advisory Committee, or MAC, meeting on Saturday night. They were told to stick to what they know and leave the economic interventions to other departments and raise concerns directly with the department, not through the media. Oh, they're getting particular, aren't they? I think someone's hit a raw nerve here. I wonder why. Health Minister Zweli Mkhize defended the government's lockdown strategy and said no region or district in the country can claim to conform to the World Health Organization's 6 criteria to have restrictions lifted. He called the criticism unfair. The meeting follows explosive comments made by Dr. Glenda Gray, the head of the South African Medical Research Council and chairperson of the MAC Subcommittee on Research. Gray criticized the phased lifting of the lockdown as unscientific and said that certain regulations, such as restrictions on the sale of some clothing items, were nonsensical and not based in evidence, which has prompted swift backlash. Leading the charge for the Department of Health was Acting Director General Dr. Anban Pillay, who said after the meeting that the department and the committee were provided an opportunity to voice their views. Pillay said, "I only heard the explanation from Professor Glenda Gray and others that they were concerned about the regulations. Those economic regulations are not their mandate, responsibility, or expertise, so I don't understand why they would think they needed to speak out as MAC members." The experts spoke in their personal capacities and not as members of the MAC in that report that I put up yesterday. Pillay said he also raised the issue of why experts went to the media with their concerns instead of writing to the minister first. Well, I can tell him why, because they never answer the letter. I've heard it from so many top people in top organizations around South Africa. You take TLUSA, you take Solidarity. They write a letter to the relevant minister and they hear diddly squat for months. That's why people go to the media. It ain't rocket science. It's a gangster state in South Africa. Anyway, Pillay went on to say, "We are in contact regularly, almost every week, so why wouldn't you do that? Why would you go to a journalist in the media to help you to articulate that?" According to a statement issued by MAC chairperson Professor Salim Abdul Karim, also on Saturday, he convened a meeting with the MAC subcommittee chairs specifically to share his concerns about regulations related to the lockdown on Tuesday, the 12th of May. All the chairs concurred and expressed their concerns about the regulations at the meeting. Professor Gray, together with the assistant Professor Mark Mendelson, were tasked with preparing an advisory on the MAC's concerns about regulations. including the 3 regulations that were published that morning relating to clothing, purchasing of cars, and small businesses, the statement read. Now, what I find really interesting is that you can't buy flip-flops or shoes which are, like thongs. You can't buy those sort of shoes, yet you can have cattle auctions in South Africa. And guess who that benefits? Specifically. Come on, you can work this one out. You can work this one out. Remember the president, Cyril Ramaphosa? He's got cattle farms, hasn't he? He's bought cattle under this lockdown at cattle auctions. That's an essential service. Give me a break. According to Abdul Karim, the draft of the regulations advisory was submitted by Gray late on the 15th of May for tabling at the next MAC meeting next week for approval, and then onward submission to the Department of Health. Pillay accused Gray of making comments regarding the lockdown and regulations that were misleading to the public. Whoa, remember that censorship law the ANC have got out? If you are misleading to the public when it comes to the coronavirus or COVID-19, they slap you with a fine, and it's up to 6 months inside. This is how ridiculous things are in South Africa. Pillay said, I don't know what it is that they were commenting on that was health-related, because when we had the call this evening, Saturday, they were talking only about the regulations, how difficult it is for people to do some things. Regarding the phased exit of the lockdown, Pillay said no scientific basis existed. There is no blueprint that's available in any country, and the only principle that all countries have realized from the ones that have done it wrong that we have learned from is that you cannot suddenly ease the lockdown. The idea is to ease out of the lockdown. The question is how quickly or how slowly you should ease. There's no science on that. That's based on the best judgment on how you think the sector should open up. Now, I've said this so many times on this channel that it's boring, and that is that this lockdown is a complete farce. There's no social distancing in the townships, in the black communities. They're just treating this whole thing as a public holiday, and nothing else has changed. And the police and the army, yep, if you watch the video I've just put up on 2020, you'll see they are targeting the white suburbs. Well, the black suburbs, the black townships carry on as before. This is clearly political. Pillay said, when you have regulations on economic issues, the questions of what you can buy in the supermarket or the question of open or closed shops is not a decision that health made, it's a decision that the economic cluster made. Well, I think the economic cluster are a bunch of idiots, quite honestly. Anyway, that's my point of view. He said, the members of the MAC only have experts on health issues, so they must not think that because COVID is a health problem, suddenly they become the advisory committee for all government departments. Gray, who faced intense backlash for most of Saturday over her comments, said after the meeting she spoke to the regulations. She said, there is no basis to prohibit the sale of certain clothing, goods, etc. There is no evidence that certain clothes spread COVID-19. My reflections were only on that. Without a vaccine or a biomedical intervention, we are stuck with a small armamentarium to help us fight the epidemic. We should focus on the epidemic. This is going to be a long haul. Mkhize said he felt the criticism over the implementation of the lockdown was unfair. He said, from the advice to the implementation, there is a whole lot of processing and packaging needed to put in place. From decision to implementation, there is a gap of practical things that have to be put in place. He said the World Health Organization gave us a list of 6 criteria for lifting lockdown restrictions, and no part of the country can actually tick them all and say that they are positive. We are now doing something that has not been done anywhere, lifting the lockdown in the presence of a rising rate of infections. Did you get that? We are lifting the lockdown in the presence of a rising rate of infections. This is several weeks after the lockdown started. And the reasons it's failed? Self-evident. No social distancing. I've got so many videos that prove it. I've just put one up on 2020 tonight. And this whole thing is a complete farce. I believe there's another agenda going on behind the scenes, personally. We'll find out what it is in time, but I believe there's another very sinister political agenda happening in the background. Anyway, Mkhize said, it has been agreed that the lockdown must be lifted, and the MAC has provided advice on hotspot management connected to that approach. He said, anyone who is now wanting to move from leaving the advice and coming to attack us and how we're implementing, it's not fair, because just as we speak now, we have actually given government a categorization of each and every district in terms of how much infection there is. And that will go forward, and we will take a differentiated approach to each district. Now, before we go any further, the only reason this has all happened is because this lady went to the media. This is the only way that organizations can actually get this government to get off their fat, lazy asses. And that's a reality in South Africa. The differentiated approach to the lockdown involves certain districts being placed at certain levels of lockdown based on an average rate of infection over a period of time per 100,000 people in that district. He concluded by saying, the conditions in terms of rising infections still justify lockdown, but from that point of view of balancing the benefit epidemiologically, it won't make a lot of difference. But from the point of view of economic activity, you can't just do a lockdown. You must do other things. We're trying to find that balance now. Well, I'm not going to say it again. You know my views on this lockdown. It's a complete farce. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe.